Wow, what an electrifying morning of presentations. Are you enjoying yourselves so far?
Yeah.
Me too, it's been so fantastic. So as Shireen said, I'm here to take you through to lunchtime, and I have a really important question for you. Can a 10-minute NHS appointment change your life? And why is that question so important? Well, many of us are suffering chronic diseases like we never have before, and I like to think that I'm in a reasonably good position to share this discussion with you. I am a senior partner at a busy NHS general practice, and in my 15 years as a doctor, trust me when I say I've seen it all. I've seen the heartbreak and the hilarity, the bodily secretions, the late night crash calls, the unhinged, the hopeless. And I have to say it's honestly one of the most rewarding careers I could ever have imagined, but sometimes it can be a little bit frustrating. And I know as members of the general public you might not quite understand what it's like, so I'll try and paint a little picture for you. If you try to imagine your GP on a Friday afternoon, they've had to call a mum back because their daughter wasn't responding to epilepsy meds, they've just seen an opiate addict, they've got the undertaker on the phone wanting to view a dead body, they've got all sorts of paperwork piling up, and then their next patient walks in, and sometimes they'll sit down with that patient and they'll honestly not know what to do for them. And this is the thing, this doctor may have had years of medical training, but then here's this person who is overweight, who has high blood lipids, who has diabetes, who has chronic all over body pain, who has fibromyalgia, who is severely depressed, and the GP feels completely stuck because they haven't yet got the tools to help them help this person. So, I mean, the challenge is that many doctors don't have a specialist interest in nutrition, as you've discovered today, and you may have already discovered through your own dealings with your doctor. And you want to get the best out of this person. You want to be your own best health advocate and to be able to use their skills to get the very best for your health. So how do you do that? How do you become your own very best health advocate? And I just think it would be incredible if you could potentially use your NHS appointment for health optimization rather than firefighting and disease control. What if you never needed to even see your doctor at all? That would be pretty special. So, as a physician, I like to use many tools to help my patients get well. And what I use with a patient will really depend on the person. Yes, I've got my conventional medical training, but I'm also really passionate about lifestyle medicine, and I see those kinds of interventions being tremendously useful, both for prevention and sometimes reversal. So some people might need to have more sleep, some people might need more love and connection in their lives, some people might need to get more exercise, get outside in nature. But I have to say, one of the most powerful, high impact and easy to implement changes that I've seen in my practice is when patients are able to adopt a whole foods, plant-based dietary approach. Now, again, what I've seen in my practice is that people tend to have this kind of a domino effect, and Dr. Neil Bernard talked about this so effectively earlier today in his talk. And let me just give you an example. So say there's a man in his 60s who comes to see you and decides to eat more vegetables, and he goes on a whole foods plant-based diet, and then what does he notice? Well, he starts to lose a bit of weight, the arthritis that's been plaguing him for years starts to melt away, and he starts to pick up in his mood. So he thinks, oh, I think I'm going to go on that early morning walk that I planned. And when he does that, he notices that there's rather a lot of dog walkers going around at that time of day. And he thinks, oh, you know what, I quite fancy a dog. I need a bit of companionship. I'm going to get a rescue dog. So off to the shelter he goes, he gets himself a rescue dog, and he starts walking every morning at the same time with his dog. And then he meets a lovely lady walking her dog at the same time. And he thinks, oh, she looks nice. Maybe we should have a little chat on our walk. So they start chatting, they have a coffee turns into a dinner date, and then pretty soon his whole life trajectory looks entirely different to how it would have done before. And sometimes all it takes is a 5-minute chat and then an epiphany moment, and then that's it. The ripple effect is made, you've got no idea the benefits in that patient's life in the future. And the same applies to you guys. Sometimes all it takes is just an epiphany moment. And I'm sure you can all look back on your own lives and think about an epiphany moment that you've had that's changed your lives forever. So now I've got to share with you something really special. These wonderful people are my patients, and they have agreed to share their stories publicly for your benefit, so that they can hopefully give you inspiration for what's potentially possible in your own lives. And I could not be more proud of them. So let's just take a look. Give them your full attention. It's just a 5-minute video.
The process actually started with my first meeting with one new doctor. She's a younger doctor. She's a new generation of doctors.
I lost my HGV license due to high blood pressure.
The problem was that I'd collapsed.
I thought that I was going to come in and sit with Dr. Newman, and she was going to say, you know, there's nothing you can do about it, you're just going to have to live with it.
You know, sometime back I was feeling very lethargic and depression sort of things.
I developed Crohn's disease, just wouldn't clear up, wouldn't stop.
I was diagnosed with polymyalgia rheumatica.
I had angina, had an angioplasty, arthritis, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Then I got prostate cancer, and when I got that call to say that it was all clear, boy, yes! To suddenly have an option of giving up the medication, I took her advice. And it's like, for me, it's like being in a prison and suddenly you're released. That's what it felt like. We need to get the message out there. We need people to know. There are older people suffering like I did, who had no idea that all they had to do was buy vegetables.
My motivation to switch was to do with how I was feeling, and assumed, because of my age, that it was kind of hormone based. She said something completely different, which actually made me think people that were plant-based were other people. It's given me my life back again.
What the doctor discovered was that I had a very high blood pressure on the day that I came, which was, I believe, to be 212. A few weeks later, it had gone down to about 140 odd to 150. The amazing thing I noticed, I felt a lot better, is improved my way of life, and instead of feeling coming up to 82 years of age, I feel like I'm 62.
She introduced me to a more plant-based diet within the first 3 days. I started feeling better within the first 3 days. When I came back after the 2 weeks, and my blood pressure count was so dramatically reduced, it was amazing. And then I could get back to work. I just felt elated. I never believed that a diet could make such a dramatic impact on your life.
The main things I've been struggling with and suffering with is Crohn's disease, primary sclerosing cholangitis, kidney disease and asthma. When I made the switch, the things that I noticed, I wasn't bloated anymore, and the marvellous thing was I wasn't running to the toilet anymore, which has been a nightmare, to be honest. Also, I felt much better in myself. I was breathing better. My tummy seemed much more calmer, you know, didn't have this awful pain all the time that I always experienced. The kidney specialist, as I say, was absolutely shocked when the readings were so good. And also the Crohn's specialist also has now said he doesn't need to see me. So I haven't been to see the Crohn's specialist now for nearly 2 years.
I'm feeling a lot healthier, happier, and very fit in life. I was taking blood pressure medicine and also the medicine for my diabetes. I need no more of these medicines. I'm doing without medicine. I'm on a good diet, and that diet has been the main element of making me back to a normal life.
And it got to the state that I couldn't get out of bed, and I was very, very distressed. And I was so upset because I care for my husband and I couldn't care for him. So it made me very sad. Dr. Newman actually gave me a diet. Actually, to eat in these foods, everything of my body is working okay. And I find that all plant-based foods now help my joints, and I don't feel half as stiff as I used to. And so I've got a feeling that cutting out red meats and going to plant-based foods helps my polymyalgia rheumatica.
Well, you're never too old. You're never too old to change.
I would recommend everybody try a plant-based diet.
Well, it's given me my life back.
I would definitely recommend others.
It definitely works. Plant-based foods improve your life. It's as simple as that. Give it a go.
Okay, so for those patients, they really did experience some inflammation in a 10-minute consultation that did change their lives. And you'll see that these are just ordinary people, like you and me, but they've done the extraordinary. And I see people in clinic every day doing the extraordinary once they have the knowledge and the specific practical advice and the motivation to keep it going and to make a start and to take that first step towards better nutrition. So I know it's not easy. Personally and professionally, I know it's not easy. And the reason I know on a personal level that it's not easy is because I myself have struggled to maintain not only a healthy weight, but also minimise my own risk of long-term disease. You see, I had a genetic test done recently, a saliva test, and it showed me that I have a genetic predisposition to obesity, to increased appetite, and even I was told in this genetic test that if I tried to work out at the gym and gain muscle, I would be far less likely to do so because of my genetic inheritance. So it's kind of, it's a bit depressing if you think that you are, your genes and nothing more. But the point is that your lifestyle can very much dictate how your genes express themselves. So take, for example, me here on the left. I was a little bit stuck in a rut. I didn't have any specific health problems, but I just felt as though I could do better and I wanted to lose some weight. Fast forward a few years, that's me at one of many running events. I'm with my husband there. We've done the London Marathon together. This was one of the 10Ks. But it wasn't a straight road. There were lots of twists and turns and bumps in the road. And that's why I'm telling you that I understand it's really not easy sometimes. And like Dr. Bernard said, sometimes we blame ourselves and we think, I just can't stick with it, it's my fault. But actually, once you have a lifestyle and an attitude and a way of being and foods that nourish you, then it becomes an awful lot easier. So I started out, like everyone else, on the bandwagon of low carb. I thought, well, I'll lose a lot of weight, I'll go low carb, I'll calorie restrict, I'll exercise too much. And that's me there on the left a few years ago. And you can see I still love my burgers. I was still enjoying those kinds of foods. But even in my 20s, I failed to sort out my raised lipid profile, and I was getting a lot of knee pains when I ran. And I thought that was just my genetic inheritance. That was my destiny. That was my fate. Until my husband, as I mentioned before, ran the London Marathon. Now, he'd been having a lot of injuries and inflammation which had been interfering with his training, so he wanted to do something different. He started to research some of his personal heroes. Rich Roll, Brendan Brazier, Scott Jurek. These are all people who are really accomplished athletes in their field. And he thought, well, what do they all have in common? They've got a whole food plant-based diet. Maybe I'll give that a go. It might give me the edge. And of course it did give him the edge, because the next time he ran a marathon, he ran it 1 hour and 10 minutes faster than his previous attempt. Yeah, he got my attention too. I thought, could my non-medical husband have stumbled upon something that I should really have known? What's this all about? So of course I delved deep into the scientific literature. I looked at the mechanistic data, I looked at epidemiological data, I looked at public health guidelines. I began to realise that the same basic dietary patterns are true for multiple populations and can have tremendous benefits. And I wanted to feel confident to recommend it to my family, so I'm just letting you know that's a picture of my mum there on the right. She was able to combat recurrent dental abscesses and shoulder arthritis. And of course, I really ultimately wanted to be confident to recommend this way of eating to my own children and obviously to my patients too. So these are my two boys, Max and Ted, cheeky little chappies they are. They also eat a plant-based diet. But of course, as the video showed you, the real magic happens when you can potentially reverse chronic diseases, which is what my patients are able to do. And I'm not here today to tell you what to do, because only you know what feels right to you. But what I am here today, and I hope that you will enjoy, is to share my own knowledge, my specific actions to help you guys if you want to take that journey, and also ways to help you motivate yourselves to take that step in the right direction. So if you want to come with me on that journey, that's wonderful, and I'll make a start with the knowledge aspect. Now, I'm not going to go so deep into the literature as I did yesterday, because I think there's a little bit of overlap and you've also got loads to learn today. I'm sure you've written loads of notes already. But I will share with you just a few things. If you want to take a screenshot of this slide, you might find it useful. There's some really good sources of information for you. We are Plant-Based Health Professionals UK. We've got loads of amazing resources on our website. University of Winchester has an amazing plant-based nutrition course that you can sign up for. And we've got the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, the True Health Initiative, BANT, Physicians Committee, and the Harvard School of Public Health. These are all, I think, very trusted sources of information to get you started if you want to know more. I've got a website, Dr. Gemma Newman, actually it's gemmanewman.com, and on there I've got podcast interviews, I've got articles, I've got videos explaining how to incorporate plant-based diets if you have diabetes, or if you have heart disease, if you're raising a plant-based family, or if you're pregnant, and many more. So do check that out. And some of you may be here because you're really into environmental health, and if you haven't already, I know it's been touched upon, but there's two things that you really want to look at here. The Eat Lancet Commission's report that came out this year, talking about the power of plant-based diets for planetary health and our ability as humans to live healthily on this earth. And the British Dietetic Association, they've done some incredible work. They have released the One Blue Dot campaign, which is all about sustainable diets and a plant-focused diet for the health of the planet. So do check those out. So just to continue this very brief overview of the knowledge, I'm going to go and go through the broad study. This is an amazing randomized controlled trial because it was done by GPs in New Zealand. And what they're able to do was recommend to their patients a whole foods plant-based dietary approach. And the magic of this was that at 6 months and at 12 months follow-up, they had achieved greater weight loss results for their patients than any other dietary intervention study that they know of that did not incorporate caloric restriction or any form of exercise. So the results were hugely impressive. There are many other diseases for which this is beneficial, which I will skim through now. If you're a woman and you get period pains or polycystic ovaries, plant-based diets are seen to be quite beneficial for this. This crossover study showed that women on a plant-based diet were able to increase their sex hormone binding globulin, which meant that they had less period pain and less PMS. Dr. Bernard has talked about diabetes already. This is one of my favourite randomised controlled trials that show a whole food plant-based intervention is more effective than the American Diabetes Association approved diet for improving diabetes. If you want to know more about that, we have a diabetes module on the Winchester University Plant-Based Nutrition course. That's one that I created, but there's loads of other modules there as well, so do check that out. Again, Alzheimer's, we're beginning to see information about that. This study shows us that this is a multi-country study, and it shows us that a meat, sweet, refined sugar and dairy diet is far more associated with Alzheimer's dementia, and having a diet rich in whole grains, fruits and vegetables and beans and fish was associated with a lower risk of dementia. Arthritis, you saw in my video, you may have seen this in your own lives. I've seen it in my own family. Plenty of evidence now points towards plant-based diets being really good, not only for osteoarthritis, but also for inflammatory arthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. So do check out the online programs available for that. The Paddison program is one that I would particularly advise you to check out. And I can't go through an overview without mentioning the West's biggest killer, heart disease. Dr. Cobalt Esselstyn had nearly 200 people in this study. He told them to eat a whole foods, plant-based, low-oil diet, and in so doing, they were able to improve their heart disease symptoms. These are people who already had heart disease. They'd already had a heart attack or a stroke. And what was really interesting to me about this study is that some people decided to veer off that plan, just a very small amount actually. There was an 86% adherence rate. So most people stuck with it because they felt a lot better. But for those who didn't, there was a huge difference in the recurrence rate of heart attack and stroke. There was just a 0.6% event rate in those that stuck with the diet. So in essence, there was 100 times more people that had a repeat heart attack or a stroke when they gave up their whole foods plant-based lifestyle compared to those who stuck with it. So that is hugely impressive. Cancer. We know that the World Health Organization has been through multiple studies and decided that processed meats are class 1 carcinogen and red meat is a probable carcinogen. World Cancer Research Fund also tells us that a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains and beans is protective against cancer, especially bowel cancer. And now we've got more research showing that a plant-based diet is also effective for other bowel disorders, inflammatory bowel disease. Dr. Alan Desmond will be talking a lot more about that later on, so I'm sure you will look forward to that talk. And finally, plant-based diets have the power to turn back time. Well, not literally, but this study was took inspiration from the Nobel Prize-winning work of Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn, who was able to monitor telomerase activity and showed that intense lifestyle intervention, which included a plant-based diet, was able to reduce cellular aging. And you can see that when you look at the blue zones. I think Brenda touched on this earlier today. The blue zones are the pockets of the world with the highest healthy longevity. And what do they have in common? Well, they certainly don't have geography in common. They don't have genetics in common. What they do have in common is that they've got really moderately active lifestyles, so they're active throughout the day for most of their lives. They've got really strong community bonds, and they all eat a 95% plant-based diet, except the Loma Lindens, this lady here. They would have more of a 100% plant-based diet. All right, so I've gone through an overview of some of the knowledge that will hopefully help you to feel confident to give this a try if you haven't already. Now let's talk about action. Practical steps to put this into action. Some people like to have a picture of a shopping day so that they can say, okay, these are the kinds of foods that I would be buying. Some people get so caught up in thinking, oh, I don't know what to eat, what should I buy? So hopefully a photo like this will help you to say, you know, it's not actually that different from what I was buying before. And what resources you use will depend on you. If you are a man, you might want to watch the Game Changers movie. How many of you have seen this movie? Maybe a third of you. Right, the other 2/3 of you, can you please watch the movie? I think you'll really enjoy it. There are some great resources online. They've got some fantastic recipes. Forks Over Knives have got some great meal plans as well. Deliciously Ella. I love Ella Mills. She is the most lovely woman you could ever meet. She has done an incredible job at bringing forth plant-based nutrition to the masses. And she has some great books. She has a website. She has a blog. She has an app. Check those out. I mentioned Inflammatory Arthritis Reversal. This book is by Plant-Based Health Professionals UK patient advocate Ida. She has written this book, and it is an amalgamation of her own recipes that she used to help reverse her inflammatory arthritis. There are other great books, you know, Dr. Greg is great, so there's one of his cookbooks as well. But really, it's good to think about specific meal swaps. So breakfast, what would you like to eat? Porridge, smoothies, pancakes. Take a screenshot of this if you want. It's a simple pancake recipe, really straightforward. 5 ingredients, blend them together, and the job done. Thinking about what you're going to do when you eat out, especially if you're aiming for improving a chronic disease, think, where can I eat that's going to nourish me with whole foods close to nature? But it's a lot easier than you might think. Think about simple meal swaps. I'd encourage you to cook at home, get passionate, start to learn about different recipes and ideas. If you like spaghetti bolognese or chili con carne or a chicken curry or a meat roast dinner, these are all delicious alternatives that are so easy. And snacks. Fruit is pre-packaged by nature. It's a great and easy snack, but there's plenty of other things that you can try. Other speakers have talked about the importance of supplementation, so I won't go on about that. B12, vitamin D, and EPA, DHA are my favourites. But the final piece of the puzzle, this is it. This is the crux of the talk. How do you make these changes in your own life? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm the kind of person in the past that would have easily gone for maybe a glass of wine or some chocolate or maybe a packet of crisps to help me feel better after a hard day. Hands up who's done the same as me. Yeah, most of us. Everyone. So how do we get away from these short-term comforts towards long-term happiness? How do we make that shift? Well, it has to start from inside. You have to find your why. You can keep a new behaviour going if someone else told you to do it, maybe for a few days or a few weeks. You can keep a change going for a few months if you've got a logical reason perhaps to do it. But if you've got an identity or an aspiration to match your intention, you can keep it going for a lifetime. What did my patients all have in common? They're very different people. They had a motivation to make a change. Linda wanted to care for her disabled husband. Jose wanted to reverse his diseases and get rid of his pain. Michelle wanted to feel more like herself again. And Perry, he just wanted to get his driving license back, but the point was they all had a motivation to make a difference in their lives. So I'm going to do a quick exercise with you guys today to finish up and get us ready for lunch. And it's a motivation exercise, okay? Because some of us don't always know what's going to motivate us because we haven't necessarily got something specific in mind. But when it comes to a health problem, sometimes it really helps to ask yourself the miracle question. And I'm going to ask you the miracle question now. And I'm going to ask for the lights to be dimmed so we don't feel self-conscious because everybody is going to do this. No exceptions. It's a lovely chance to be with yourself, have some quiet, and be with yourself for a moment. I'd like you all to close your eyes now. And you're going to ask yourself the miracle question. So, suppose that while you're sleeping tonight after the conference and the whole house is quiet, a miracle happens. And the miracle is that the problem that you came here today with has completely disappeared. And that could be a health problem like diabetes or heart disease or cancer, or it could be something more to do with holding on to a resentment in life, or blame, or self-doubt, or guilt, or whatever it is. The problem that you came here harbouring today has completely disappeared. It's a miracle. And because you are sleeping, you don't yet know that a miracle has happened. So I want you to really imagine now, in the morning, when you wake up, when you first open your eyes, what will tell you that this miracle has happened? What will you notice that will show you this miracle has happened? How will you feel when you open your eyes? How will you get out of bed? Who will you spend the day with? What will you make for breakfast? What will you prioritise tomorrow? And I want you to really think about this. And if you don't know, I want you to imagine what it would be like if you did know. Really imagining this scenario will help you in several ways. It helps you to bring what you want for your future into your current reality. And it helps you to notice when you're already doing things which are in alignment with who you really, really are deep down. And it also helps you to imagine the steps that you might need to take to get you to a new future. And even if the problem that you're thinking of seems impossible to fix, then this miracle question is also really useful because it helps to remind you that deep down you're still the same person, and where there is possibility, there is always opportunity for change. So now I'd like you guys to open your eyes, and at the first opportunity, I'd like to write down the thoughts and ideas that you had as part of that exercise. Because what I would say here is that this exercise is really about finding ways to incorporate love into your life. Self-love, because you want to nourish your body in a way that is going to heal your body. Love for the planet for many of you, which is what motivates you. Love for the animals that we share this planet with, if that's what motivates you. But in terms of health, I would actually also suggest to you that love is medicine, because it's only when you truly love yourself deeply and completely that you're able to make choices each day that align with that deep love. So really think about it, write it down as soon as you get a chance, and the last part here of the talk is get really specific. I want you to get super specific about what you're going to do and when you're going to do it. So what can you do today as a result of your ideas that you've just had? This week, what are you going to do differently? And I'm going to give you just 30 seconds now to talk to the person next to you about the most important thing that you've learned from this talk that you're going to take away with you for the rest of the day and the week. Go. Okay, I've been told that we're running over now. So please continue those conversations at lunchtime. I know that you will. I really hope that you will have a real think about that and take something out of it. So if you want to talk to me about anything in the future, you can contact me through